Hey, so I am sitting here. It is December 23rd, and kind of going over my mind the holidays. What they normally would be like, etc. What would make it better? Um, some of us are kind of in that place that we find ourselves in during the holidays where we are wondering how many of the actual resolutions we made and how many we've actually accomplished. And if we even want to bother this year doing another list of them. Um, with some goals in mind, some things to change, but disgruntled, uh, still in the same place, whether it be location wise or goals, etc. And not too thrilled about it. Other than that, some are still single, still looking at life and from different perspectives based on singleness and married and some of the experiences that we've had or the lack thereof. Um, whether it was God or whether it was just intentionally taking a realistic look at life and goal one day making heaven what would be the easiest route. As far as your spirituality being first, where are you at your best, singleness or marriage? With that being said, haven't really experienced much of a married life, which somewhat quote unquote placed in the same vein as adulthood. Depending on the relationship, though, some of them are a little younger and childlike, depending on relationship with God and what you deem important as far as covenant and the honor that you give it. Just like anything else you would do as unto God, it's not to be entered into lightly. For that reason, many have stayed single um, because there's no desire or interest unless it's in the will of God, especially if they have any kind of prophetic ministry. And from what we have seen just in the natural, when it comes to some of the people who are supposed to be leaders in the body of Christ, they are not all in the same place. Spiritually, lack maturation, they lack discipline, uh, very juvenile, still childlike, undisciplined. A terrible place to be in if you're supposed to lead by example, or if you're supposed to grow and mature others. If you're not quite at the place in your life where you could just really be. So, this is frustration underlying that causes behaviors. And sometimes you'll notice that kids will do the same thing if you're not honoring their honor. They will act out because they feel like you are no longer deserving of it. And similar to becoming a leader or already being one that's growing, you might find that same behavior in some of the leaders where they're just kind of putting on the hits. Because the crowd that they're in, they're finding that either God is not being acknowledged, and with that, that includes your gifts and talents and anointings. They're just not willing to just throw it out there to anybody because of the lack of honor for God or acknowledgement of it. So we're just kind of here. And even with you, if you are one who pretty much does the best you can because of who you are, the harder lessons learned is that it may not be rewarded later on based on the expectation being of who you are, as opposed to really people just being people and who really just like honor and always will. So I'm kind of looking into relocation. I have been for some time, but having a little bit of a hard time trying to determine where because you don't always have videos and information pertaining to the truth of what really is happening in the other states, etc. And if you haven't visited enough, sometimes you want an honest group of people to be honest about the town and what it really is like before you make such a huge decision. But also, the economy has been absolutely horrible, and so has the leaders. And that is really a downer for people who are led by the Spirit of God throughout life because again, the desires being God given if you are trying to move to a place where there's some honor for life, say saints and such, and you find that you don't really see any who live holy anymore. If you were fortunate enough to be around during the more sacred times of salvation and the body of Christ and real respect and dignity or acknowledgement of God, then it seems like we were trained up. But seeing what some of the people, the women and men of wisdom told us that we're in this world but not of it. So we're kind of just where we are, but still has this desire to move on. We're just not sure when. So praying the planting of the Lord and all those things that we normally do, we still haven't gotten the answers. We're finding that God has raised us up and we become bigger than what we've been around, but it just kind of made things even more juvenile for us when we're looking out at some of the things that we're seeing and don't really want to partake of it. Other than that, we're also seeing a great deal of disharmony in the economy as a whole, the world as a whole, and wondering at what point will God step in and just kind of do what he does in those situations. And we're kind of waiting, but would prefer, if we had a choice, to wait elsewhere. Other than that, it's a quiet holiday. Certainly celebrating the birth of Christ, a great gift to many, and still not much grown up, if you will, behaviors or events and such anywhere. Not even in the churches that we've been around. The leaders lack maturation as well. So, kind of still where we are in hopes of hearing God and moving on, because it certainly seems like dead ground, unfortunately, but it is what it is, and not a lot of manifestation of gifts and healings, anything of that sort. The fact that people are ignoring the unctions of God is really in defiance, which is not the best of the body of Christ or salvation. So, a couple of more days will be, Christmas will be here in God, and New Year, believing for 2024 to be better, but also for a push that moves us to doing, as opposed to kind of just existing. Also intermingled, not wanting to be, but finding ourselves intermingled with people that we don't care to be around. They're nasty, ungodly, etc. And very dishonorable, disrespectful towards your privacy. Been impervious, overly intrusive, completely used by the devil himself, and are yielded to him completely. I don't see any God in most of them. And try to find a place where you can move where there is some, at least, honor for your privacy has been really a big problem. Just allowing for prayer and manifestation, which could be an indication that God doesn't want them to experience his care. So, with that, again, being in that place is not the best for those that God uses in divine intervention. Just like most things, people are carnal, and it's not the, for people who aren't, we don't really want to be around them. But I hope that you and your family are making the best of the holidays and that you have a better New Year, along with the rest of us that are praying and believing God in that area. And that's the gist of it. Talk to you soon.